Hello, friends, and welcome to the About to Break podcast. This is a good one. I'm excited. I sat down to talk, a couple weeks back. I've been sitting on this one for a while with my buddy Jack O'Shea, lead guitarist for the band Bayside. We had to wait to announce this one to put this episode out because they just announced their newest album, Interrobang, is going to be coming out on October 4th. And because we talk about it in this episode quite extensively, we wanted to wait. We didn't want to blow the surprise. So surprise, they have a new album coming out, and you're going to love this episode. A couple things I want to mention. I've got some new videos up online. I've got them on Instagram TV. That's what the teens are calling it, I think. Oh, gosh, I'm a dork. Instagram TV, putting a lot of stuff on there. So go check it out. I've been having some fun, sharing some live videos and also just some silly stuff, and also on my YouTube channel. So if you haven't had a chance to see some of those fun shots from recent shows and other just silly stuff, go check it out, would you? It'd mean the world to me. I appreciate it. I want to thank all the producers for your continued support of this podcast. If you want to help produce these shows, all you got to do is go over to patreon.com/about to break. And for as little as $1 or more a month, you can help us produce this show. I just finished a great run in Lake Tahoe last night, and now I'm going to be rushing home. We're going to drive home. Get this. This is crazy. We're going to drive home 8 hours. Then I'm going to drop the family off, quickly repack, drive to LAX, sit there for 2 hours, then take a red eye to New York, then drive from Albany, New York, about 3 hours north, pretty much as high as you can go before you get to the old Canada. And then I'm going to do a show for 45 minutes and reverse that whole process and be home the next day. Insanity. But I'm looking forward to it. It's a busy season of corporate events, which I love doing, but I've also got some pretty fun club and theater shows that you should check out as well. So if you're around October 14th through the 20th, I'll be at the Magic Castle in Hollywood, California. Hands down my favorite place ever to perform. If you have the ability to get in the castle, come see those shows. I'll be in the late parlor all that week. And then November 1st through 3rd, I'll be at Magicopolis in Santa Monica. That's going to be really fun. And then I'll be back at the Comedy and Magic Club in Hermosa Beach on November 13th to 16th. So lots of fun places for us to connect and hang. Hope to see y'all soon. But until then, sit back, relax, and enjoy episode 124 of the About to Break podcast, my conversation with the incredible Jack O'Shea.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Something is about to break.
I am stoked because not only am I sitting in a pretty cool apartment in Nashville, but I'm sitting across the table from Mr. Jack O'Shea. Thank you for doing this, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is fun.
Dude, we've already talked about all sorts of things that were not podcast worthy. And it's been
They're super podcast worthy.
Yeah,
I'm actually kind of afraid.
we're not sure the legalities of some of it, but it's very
I have a potential serial killer neighbor. I'm not going to use names. I'm not going to tell you where I live, but all I'm going to say is there's a guy there's something inherently wrong with this person.
Yeah.
that I'm not the only person who's noticed, and it started off being funny and now it's a little scary.
And I have been binging Mindhunter on Netflix. I've gotten through 2 seasons in 4 days. So I've seen a lot of terrible things. So I'm pretty convinced that we're going to crack this.
Yeah, if you picked up patterns in anything I've talked feel free to share any tips and tricks of avoiding imminent doom.
Well, dude, man, I was thinking back because I was here this same week last year. I think it was a year ago today that I met you.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's our anniversary.
Oh, well, I feel like if we're going to get back together, it might as well be on the anniversary.
This should be the time.
I would have felt bad if we missed our anniversary.
But no, man, I appreciate you doing this. We talked about doing this when you guys were playing the Glass House in Pomona, and then I had family stuff come up and we couldn't get away. But we're doing it. We're here.
This is really good. I'm excited. I'm excited that you're back, and this gets me kind of out of the house for the afternoon. So I'm not mad about that either.
Right? Yeah. Avoid the neighbor and
keep my daughter away from the neighbor.
Yeah. Wait, who's watching the family while you're gone?
Is it bad to surgically implant a tile into my kid? I don't want to wait for the real chip technology.
The chip you get for a puppy.
Yeah, the one. But I'm talking about the tiles, the one that are actually 1.5 inches square.
Oh, for your keys and stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna get that. I don't want to wait for the surgery. Yeah, I just want to get something in her quick in case she gets grabbed by my neighbor.
Dude, this is awful. Last night, my wife and I, we were talking and texting back and forth, and it's 2 hours later here, than LA. So we're texting and we're talking about the show that we were both watching, and then I fell asleep. Like mid conversation, we're texting. We're not on the phone. We're just going back and forth with text. And I fell asleep watching the show, and I woke up at 6:30 in the morning to 16 missed calls.
Oh no.
And text messages. And my poor sweet wife was freaking out because she thought something happened to me. Like, anyway.
I slipped into a coma.
Yeah. It's good to be at a point health wise where if somebody were like, oh, he had a heart attack, you'd be like, oh, well, but
He's getting on. Yeah.
I kind of saw what he was eating last week.
I know at this point, most of my preventative maintenance is just to avoid death. I'm not like trying to get in I'm like, oh, you're running, you getting in shape? They're like, no, I'm just trying to prolong death at this point.
Well, I see other people that are in like really good shape that are like the same age as me. And I'm like, I can't make, it's like guys who are really into comic books. I want to be into comic books, but I have so much I'd have to do to catch up to where they're at.
I like the idea of it so much more than I like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, can I just pretend that I'm? Well, I guess to some extent, that's almost like wearing. If you like an aesthetic with music, and you're like, I really want to say I really want to like heavy metal, so I'm just going to stock up on Metallica shirts.
Yeah.
And then you have it, and you're like, oh, you like Metallica? Yeah. You're like, no, I wish I liked them. I kind of like the idea of liking them.
Yeah. Then you meet someone like Ethan who's got a Metallica based podcast.
It's like, well, I like the production on this record, but when they did so and so with this, and they're like, oh yeah, never mind.
That was always the thing growing up too. Like listening to music and going to concerts and playing music. Like people would always be like, oh, I'm really into this scene, and then you talk to them for a minute, and you're like, no, you just heard that one song. Yeah.
Well, it is like that. You want to belong to that aesthetic where it's like, all right, well, I like this thing, I like what this is going, but I don't have there's not any real emotional tie or where you're like, this is the thing. This is it for me. I know everything, all the ins and outs. It's always interesting when you see that with like music or sports where I have so many friends who are into sports to the point where you're like, do you like sports? And they're like, let me read you stats out of my brain. From like, you're like, well, in 1986, so-and-so was doing this and this. And you're like, how do you know that? Like, yeah. At what point did that, like, I have so much stuff in my brain that's fully useless that I will never forget. Yeah. And I mean, that's also like, to some extent, you could argue that would be useless information where you're like, what's, Honus Wagner's batting average, like in his third year of baseball? And they're like, oh, well, which team? You're like, oh, I don't even know. It's
always guys that will be like, I'm not good at remembering stuff, or they always forget their anniversary, but they know, you know what I mean? They know like Brett Favre's like junior year of high school, his number and what he did. See, I want to keep going with this analogy, but I know so few facts about sports.
That's the good. Honus Wagner is the only one that I use. 'Cause they had I have so many friends that are super baseball guys, and apparently his baseball
that's
card
like the Mecca baseball
is the ultimate baseball card. So I was joking that we should make those as tour laminates, just a Honus Wagner baseball cards.
Oh, that's funny.
Which would be cool. And then I also was thinking at the same time, be like, this joke is only funny to like 1% of people, and most of them aren't going to be at your show.
Right. And that percentage of people would be like, actually, his card was much smaller.
This doesn't look authentic at all. Right. Like, yeah, it's a tour laminate. Sorry. I didn't mean to disappoint you with something that was an inside joke.
And you guys just, 2 months ago finished up your acoustic tour? Or
we finished the acoustic tour around it was the winter last year.
Jeez, man.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Time flies.
So we got through that, and while we were doing that, I guess this will come out after we're done, so this will be a good segue. We finished that tour actually the day that I was supposed to meet you when we were at the Glass House. Yeah. We met with a producer who just made a record that we just put out. So he's works out of Costa Mesa. He came up and saw the show there, and we did a record. Our new record is called Interrobang, and it is out. It should be out now. Sorry. It's coming out October 5th. It's probably been announced. I don't know how the scheduling works, but it'll be, and we made that. Now,
because when this hasn't come out yet, you haven't even announced it. You will have when we put this out.
When we're recording this, nobody knows we have a record.
But you just put a single out a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And the design of the artwork now makes a lot of sense given the name of the album.
Yeah. We while we were kind of making the record, we made a conscious decision. We were going to make a heavier record, and we wanted to make one that has a lot of like weird left turns. We were referencing a lot of music like stuff like System of a Down or something where it's kind of chaotic and frantic and heavy. And we wanted to have a lot of like, what is that? We wanted to have kind of a lot of like, oh, okay, like moments throughout the record. And then Anthony came in one day. He's like, "Do you know what an interrobang is?" And I was like, "I don't." And he was like, "It's like a question mark, exclamation point hybrid."
Yeah.
I was like, "Does it mean what I think it does?" He's like, "Yep, it's exactly. It's the same thing as writing an exclamation point and a question mark." I was like, "Oh, that's cool. That's a name." So we ended up just kind of running with that as a theme, as we were kind of talking about, with incorporating kind of a lot of left turns and quick moves in the record. So that seemed to make sense. So yeah, we came on that. And it's cool because it's a fun word, and I don't think a lot of people are aware. It's funny, we posted the picture of it, and a handful of people who either do graphic design
like, oh!
or like people who do a lot of writing were like, wow, that's an interrobang.
It's so funny because doing magic, I've been looking at it, that interrobang, because I love the idea of it gets you to question, but it's also exciting. and so, yeah, this is great. You beat me to it. Yeah.
Your neighbor killed how many people? Interrobang.
We should actually, you know what we should do is we should record 2 versions of this podcast. One where we talk just about the album coming out, and the other one that we can play breaking news.
It happened. This is predictive. It happened.
Oh my goodness. You don't. Okay. Are you into true crime much?
A little bit. My wife is the one who's usually watching. She has 2 speeds. Bravo, trash TV, and true crime.
Closely related.
Sort of.
A lot of the people on the Bravo you could see going like, oh, maybe.
Although I see most of the people on the Bravo like Trash Boat series. I'm not sure what it's called. I call it Trash Boat. I think it's like a bunch of people on yachts hooking up with each other.
Trash Boat.
I'm not sure what it's called. It's like the crew on these luxury yachts, and they're like on their petty grievances with each other. But I could see them. I could see the people on Trash Boat being more the victims of the true crime show.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we found like Brittany so and so like under the mattress of like this guy of Jack's neighbor's house.
Yeah, I was watching a documentary on cruise ships. Because, you know, I didn't start to. I went on YouTube for something else, but you end up, you know what I mean? Like
that's where you found yourself?
3 hours later, you're like, I guess I'm into this now. But they were giving like the top 10 facts about things you didn't know about cruising the world. And it's all this fun stuff. And the ship is this, you know, weighs this many pounds and all this. And then they just pass out like, you know, 3,000 people a year go missing off cruise ships. And I was like, wait, hold on a second. What? Maybe that's a little too big, but it's like hundreds of people a year just vanish off. And they just assume, well, I guess someone got drunk and fell overboard, but like just go on cruise ships. And so I think that's the perfect crime.
Pushing people off cruise ships?
Yeah.
Oh, man. You heard it here first.
I know, right?
Actually, true. I mean, there's no... I'm sure there must be well camered.
They've got to be. Yeah, but I mean, maybe you just get someone sloppy enough that they,
just run really fast.
Convince them to do. We were talking about parkour earlier. Maybe they just parkour.
Actually, speaking of parkour and falling off of roofs, there was I guess
while we're on the topic,
actually, you were talking about the owner of House of Cards and how he owns a bunch of businesses in there. I'm not sure which of the buildings, but sometime around 4th of July, someone was kind of trying to do amateur parkour from rooftop bar to rooftop bar down on Broadway.
No.
And missed one of his landing. Did not stick the landing, so to speak, and ended up being some concrete decoration in front of a bunch of people, which I'm kind of like laughing, but it's not like not a funny laugh. It's like oh my God. Like,
right. I mean,
imagine watching, you're like out for a night, you're at your bachelorette party and you're like, this is the best weekend ever. And then all of a sudden here comes this guy, just like smash. Yeah. Like, well, weekend's over, guys.
And then the band starts playing, It's Raining Men. So bad.
Only if there is a God.
Right. So bad.
If that was the case, I couldn't even imagine a more... I feel like I wouldn't even be upset anymore. If that was actually happening, I'd be like, I don't know how... I would actually like get on a soapbox, but can anyone else appreciate the irony here? Can anyone else please join me in appreciating this irony?
Man. I think the more... I mean, because let's be honest, the world is full of a lot of tragic stuff. I have to laugh about things that are terrible... Because what else do you do with it? Like,
I don't know. Go nuts. Just go crazy.
Yeah.
If you really start to, you can do, I mean, everyone can do something to make the world a better place, but like, it's just, when you really start thinking, it's like when you get overwhelmed, when you're like, I have a busy week and you're like, just one small task at a time and you'll get it all done. But when you just think about like, well, it's everything. You're like, no, you can still do your small stuff, but just don't think about the big stuff like all at once or else you're going to have a very unhappy time living.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've had
laugh.
I've had those moments where you get so overwhelmed just about all the things that like one small thing will just set me off. Like I have to take this letter that's already stamped to the mailbox, and I'll do it later. I'm going to watch a couple TV shows.
I got to take a break.
Yeah, I gotta. This is the stress of not having a real job,
Right,
you know?
My source of stress from not having a quote unquote real job is the stuff that's imposed by my wife, who likes to remind me a lot that I don't have a real job. She's like, "Oh, what are you doing today?" And we're like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm just kind of hanging out with Ryan. Then she's gonna take a nap, maybe run a couple errands, play some video games. I don't know." She's like, "Oh, must be nice. Don't have a real job and all." I'm like, "You know, I do have a real job."
Right.
That's like there's no amount of justification. I feel like even if I made millions of dollars every year, if I went on tour for 6 months and came home and be like, "Hey, honey, I just put $4 million in the bank."
Yeah.
But which, by the way, is not at all the case.
Yeah,
but if it were the case,
closer to 2, right?
Yeah, it's closer to 1.5. I really don't want to get crazy about it. But it's like one of those things. If I did that, I would still be like, "Huh, you're gonna just sit at home and play video games?" Be like, "Yeah, I actually had a really good year. I'm done. I'm just taking her easy." Be like, "Huh." While I'm just in the next room working.
Right. Okay. Right. Getting all this stuff done.
Yeah. And be like, well, I'll just be over here being productive for both of us then.
This is sad, but, cause you shouldn't look for other people's misery to bring you joy. But whenever I am, I love what I do for a living. I realize it's a privileged thing to complain about doing the one thing you would do for free.
Yeah.
But, you know, when I'm having a day where I'm like, oh man, maybe I just had like a normal job, you know, I would just work at a coffee shop.
Yep.
You know? But then I try to find a job that's worse. And today, I did this today when I was walking down to meet you. I walked down and here on Broadway in Nashville, there's these bicycles that fit like, it's like a room with a bicycle attached to it that has a bar and a bunch of people drink while you pedal this bike, right? And so what's funny is it's always bachelorette parties, you know, or like it's always 8 people that are having the time of their life. And then the 2 people that work there that are having to pretend like, you know, it's one thing if like you're going to like a bachelor party. It's another thing to be the guy who has to go to a bachelor party every day and pretend like yours is special.
He's having that like crying on the inside clown moment of like, he's like psyching himself up in the mirror in the morning. Like, all right, Jim, we can do this. One more day.
Literally, it was a bachelorette party, and the lady in the back who was like, she's like going like this, but she's turned so they can't see her, and she's like looking at her phone like.
Those are nuts too. Those are expensive to get. This is my take from those. It costs about $40 to sit on that, to pedal.
And you have to pedal. You have to work.
Yeah, you're like, and I don't know if you've never been to Nashville, it is hot here. Like in the middle of the summer, it is like 100 degrees with like 80% humidity. Yeah. Then these people are out in the sun pedaling and drinking. Yeah. And here's the kicker. It's expensive to get on, and it's a BYOB. They don't even serve you.
Yeah, they don't have like a liquor license or something,
you're
right?
Paying. Well, they have they can give you, somehow they're allowed to serve you your own liquor. But they can't, that thing.
Oh, but they can't charge you for it. Maybe that's the way
it is.
Or
so they charge you $50 to get on this thing, and you bring your own drinks.
That just sounds like the worst day ever to me.
That would be, if somebody told me we were doing, that would be like punishment for me. If they were like, listen, you got arrested for, I don't know, like a minor drug possession or something. We caught you with weed that you brought back from California. Your punishment is you have to spend the month of July on a pedal tavern drinking Bud Lights that you have to buy. I'm like, oh no! Like, couldn't I just go to jail for a week?
It's like the adult equivalent of your mom making you smoke the entire carton of cigarettes.
I feel like it.
You think you're a cool guy, huh?
Yeah.
Well, cool. Let's see, cool guy.
You're not going to get off this pedal tavern in 100-degree weather until you finish this whole 12-pack. Be like, I just want to go home.
Nashville, this city is great, and it's fun, and it's crazy, but it's also, it's like Vegas. It's full of ideas that should have never made it out of the brainstorming plan. Like, let's get a flatbed truck and put a bunch of women on it who are celebrating, you know, whatever. Yeah. And they're just, they're just driving in the middle of the street having a party.
Oh my God. Yeah. You know who loves that? Everybody drive. Everyone else driving who has somewhere to go loves nothing more than to be stuck in traffic behind a flatbed full of woo girls who are having.
And they're all saluting. They're like, yeah. And I'm like,
bitch, I'm going to work. I don't know. I feel bad because people. I love the fact. The reason that Nashville is growing so much is because its tourism is exploding.
Right.
And these people are coming here and they're having a great time and they're pumping a lot of money into local economy. So I'm totally, I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to sit in traffic behind that. It makes me crazy. I'm way too from the Northeast. I grew up in Massachusetts. I learned to drive in the Northeast.
Yeah.
I have a very Northeast mentality of just go, go, go. I have a hard time relaxing and slowing down.
Well, that's Massachusetts. That's Boston, right? I mean, were you in the Boston area? Or?
I grew up in Worcester, which is about 30 miles west of Boston.
Okay.
And then I went to college outside in Somerville. And then I lived in Cambridge for about 10 years after college. And yeah, that's kind of my personality. I very much am from there. So moving here already is an adjustment because I feel like it's Southern and people are I love it. I think that people are incredibly polite. I love that there's a great sense of community.
Yeah.
But the pacing is I'm going to have a heart attack trying to prevent a heart attack that I was going to have from living in a high paced, like frenzied environment. And I think the slowing down is like the equivalent of like coming off of like a hard drug. Like it's like, I feel like I'm coming off of heroin and I'm having like DT shakes from I'm like coming off of heroin is going to kill me basically.
Yeah.
Like in this. So I'm settling in and I'm kind of getting accustomed to a slower pacing. And then all of a sudden you're stuck because there's a flatbed driving 5 miles an hour in rush hour in the middle of a street. That's a huge like commercial thoroughfare.
Yeah. Well, you moved to Nashville when? Not that long ago. I mean, maybe
it's about 8 years ago, 7.5 years ago.
So you kind of came right before it started to turn into what it is now.
Oh, for sure. It's like I was going to the pool and I got in the pool. I was like, hey, this is nobody's here today. And then all of a sudden I turned around. I went up to get something at the snack bar and I came back and the pool was full. I was like,
and one by one, pop country artists are buying all the honky tonks and
Broadway is. I mean, I haven't been here long enough to really speak it with authority as a native. I'm never going to claim that. I think 10 years is a naturalization process to be a citizen in most countries. So even inside of that, I feel like I've been here for a while, but I definitely like Ethan we have a collective friend Ethan who's been here for a lot longer. So he's really witnessed infinitely more. He's a substantial amount more of the change that's been happening. But talking about like Lower Broadway in the 80s, I think it was sort of like it's been described to me as being like almost like a 70s Times Square vibe. A lot of like kind of sex shops,
really
and dive
divey
bars,
place,
and kind of touch and go.
Yeah.
So from where it was to now, I mean, it is like Times Square now, where it's like minus the M&M store. It's a little seedier than like Times Square as far as it's nothing really but a series of bars. But I look at Broadway now. I'm like This isn't dangerous. This is like the safest place in Nashville. There's cops everywhere. There's 1 million people walking around.
Right.
Like, nothing bad has happened. I mean, people are going to get drunk and maybe get run over by a scooter. But other than that, like nobody's.
Yeah. Or have a parkour guy fall on them.
Yeah. Holy mackerel. Could you imagine? Happy 4th of July. What kind of firework is that? Be like, this one looks really real. Guys, I don't know if that's a firework.
Statistically, somebody has just been like, we should check the weather. That's awful. I'm a terrible human.
Poor guy. I mean, well, no.
I don't know.
I mean, listen, if you're going to try to jump from roof to roof.
Here's the thing. That was awful.
Yeah.
But just before it was awful, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that guy was he went from hero.
From awful to awesome is very, very minimal.
Was probably, actually, if you really want to drill down, it probably was about 6 inches between 6 inches of reach between awful and like between tragedy and like hero over the weekend.
Right. I think that we should create a reality TV show. Maybe Bravo wants to pick it up.
Okay.
It's called Fish Out of Water.
Okay.
And it's where we create these scenarios, but rather than you coming from Massachusetts to a place like this, we take one of those carts and we put it in like Cambridge with all the people driving, we take the bike tavern and just see people reacting. Like,
put one in Midtown Manhattan. Let's see how that goes. You know what they love in Manhattan? Something blocking traffic. That's their favorite thing.
Oh my gosh.
Could you imagine the stream of consciousness obscenity that would just come from all angles in every direction?
Oh yeah.
It's like an amorphous blob of curse words just coming from everywhere. It's like I can't make any of them out, but it just feels like one enormous curse word that I'm wearing like a blanket.
Right. Oh my gosh, man. I want to see it. I want to see it so bad.
I like it. They put it on right after Trash Boat.
Yeah, Trash. This week on Trash Boat.
Oh, I want to know what the heck the name of Trash Boat.
I think Trash Boat is. I'm going to call it. I don't even know what the show is, but when I find out what it is, I'm going to refer to it as Trash Boat.
If you like, well, I'm sure if you went to the Bravo website and you just like looked like boat show, it's whatever. I don't know how many shows. There might be multiple Trash Boat shows, but I think it's.
Are we running out of ideas for reality shows? Like
100%.
if we're using the crew from a luxury yacht.
Everything's getting so used up. We're like, how many Spider-Man reboots are they making?
Every movie is a reboot.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. I guess they ran out of new ideas.
Yeah, well, they just made The Lion King, and everybody, I didn't see it. My kids saw it.
Did they like it?
No, because they said there was absolutely nothing different from, like, it was like verbatim, the animated one, just with like, real
with
people.
CGI? No kidding. Yeah. Well, my daughter, I don't think, has seen the other Lion King.
Yeah.
So she'll see that one instead.
There you go.
She'll be like, this one's good. And then I'll show her the other one and be like, the animation's choppy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
She's like, what was this, made in the 90s? We're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gross.
Why is Elton John so emotional on these songs? He's singing about cartoon animals. Dude, so you guys are releasing an album. Talk to me about the new album. And then we're going to go back in time.
Okay.
Yeah. We're doing this the opposite. Normally people are like, so tell me, how did you discover music? We're going to end with that.
Sounds good. The record is called Interrobang. It's a heavier record. We've done, for those of you who don't know our band, and probably a lot of you don't, we're kind of a early 2000s punk rock band that's refused to die, for lack of a better term.
Well, dude, your fans would never let you.
Oh no,
we're
really, really lucky. We have a rabid fan base, and we've been described as like cultish, and we're referred to as a cult, so we kind of embraced that, and it's great. They've afforded us a career we're coming up on our 2020 will be the band's 20th year as a practicing entity, and it's exciting. So this record's coming out. It's a heavier record. We're kind of going back to where we started, which was more incorporating a lot of elements of punk rock and metal and just like kind of melodic rock in general. So we have never made any left turn records. We've never made a record where it's like, we don't have our Sgt. Peppers. We don't have the
like
they're
totally
really
different. Yeah.
Which I guess this would have been the record to do it, calling it Interrobang, I think, with thematically what we were going for. But it sounds like us. It's just a more aggressive, heavier record. And the first single got released as sort of to test the waters.
It's fantastic.
And it's being received really well. So I think anytime you can put something on the internet, and I haven't seen anything negative about it, which is kind of I feel like that's somewhat award-worthy.
It's sad that that's a positive. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
because there's always
somebody who just wants to hate on whatever comes out. And
it's like, what do you think of this song? Be like, your mom's fat. And you're like, all right, well, whatever. Like,
first of all, she's got a thyroid problem. Second of all, I asked about the music.
It's like, but we don't even have anything like that. There's been a couple like German compliments where it was like, it's pretty good, but I like your other stuff better. Yeah. I'm like, okay, well, that's fair enough. Like, okay, but nobody's been like, boo.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a good sign, and we're putting it out. I don't think we're pretty established in our career and as a band, so I don't think anyone's expecting. It's not like this is going to be the big breakout record, but at this point, we're having the longevity that we've had. I think that just the forward momentum and keeping things going, keeping our fans happy, and if we do pick up some new fans who might have overlooked us in the past because it isn't necessarily as heavy,
right,
or it might not be. I think there's one of the big problems that we faced with our band as far as like gaining new fans is people have a very strong preconceived notion of what they think that we are because of the bands that we came up around when we were coming up, because we kind of came up in an early emo scene.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people are like, oh, you're like, you sound like Hawthorne Heights, or you sound like this other band, or you sound like this band. We're like, not really. Like, no. So, because I feel like even now we've had people coming up to us at our new shows be like, my girlfriend really likes your band. I always thought you guys sucked, but I came and saw you. You don't sound anything like what I thought you are. You guys are really good. I'm like, thanks.
Well, also, like, you think back and it's like, well, if you first heard us when you were 16, and now, you know what I mean? And now you're 30, like, maybe you have different tastes too. Yeah. Like,
it's funny too, because at that point, like when we first started playing, I didn't join Bayside until I was like 26, 27. So at that point, I was kind of like older anyway. So when people are like, oh, you were like a baby when you wrote this record, or when you were like writing stuff in this record, I was like, no, I was still like I was an adult. Man. Yeah. Like I'm just like especially old now. Like,
no, dude.
Not like it's, you know what I mean though.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things I was like, no, I kind of had like, I'd already gotten to the crusty. I fully identified myself as like as far as my tastes and my influences go. Like I kind of was like, oh, I like this and this and this. And I guess as you get older, it's harder to break those bonds with the things that you've kind of established as like your influences or where you come from or what it is that you've like that brought you to do what you do in the first place. So at this point, when people are like, well, your influence is different now. I'm like, no, same stuff. Like still love like metal, Zappa, like classic rock, like all that kind of stuff. It's pretty much, it's all there. If you look through the whole catalog and you do critical listening, it's like all those elements are there. I've gotten better at playing guitar like over the years. Because if I hadn't, I would have been like, this is maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. I've been doing this for almost like 17 years and haven't gotten any better at it.
Do you have any times when you go back and you look at like licks that you did that you still have to play if people request and you're like, oh, this is kind of not my favorite. Yeah. No,
it's pretty garbage.
No, not that it's garbage, but you know what I mean? Like it's interesting as you grow as an artist. Like I think about routines that I could still do or jokes that I could say that I'd still get a laugh, but it's like, oh, that's different than what I would do today,
Oh, 100%. Going through and like, especially when we do some tours where it's like, we should really play something we haven't played in a while. Let's go back and learn this. So my memory is not amazing. I have friends who, like Ethan, again, I hate to keep referencing him, but like as just a common point. But Ethan's the kind of guy who's like, oh, I remember learning how to play like this song when I was like 5, and then he'll
and he can do it.
And he just remembers it. I'm like, I was like, I don't know that it's that I've mistreated my body or my brain so much so that my memory is just shot, or maybe it's just I don't have that same power of recall, but I don't. Like, I'll have to go back and relearn everything.
Man, I'll be in a show tonight. This will happen to me tonight. I'll be in a show tonight and I will be halfway through a routine and not realize if I did the first part of it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I do.
You traveling and like doing gigs, like there's got to be times where you've been on stage and been like, wait, did we already play that song?
Oh, 100%. Like, we'll have things where it'll be like, you don't need a set list. We're in the middle of the tour. You've been doing it for like 3 weeks. Be like, could you just put it there?
Yeah, please. It's my weighted blanket.
Like, I don't remember anything. Like, I'm fully just like a kitten. I'm just like surprised by everything and just no attention span. I'm like, what's that? It's a moth. Be like, cool.
That's awesome, man. Ugh. Well, you guys, what's great is like you've been together. So this will be 20 years in 2020, you said?
Yeah. Well, the band has been for 20 years.
And you were like 2005, 2004?
2000. I joined in 2003. And 2003, then drummer, bass player in 2004, drummer in 2005. Yeah. Or 2006, rather. So the lineup as it is right now has been 13 years. So that's a good stretch. I feel like 13 years as a single unit is probably more than most bands enjoying their whole career. So,
well, and you guys, I mean, in that time period, the music industry has changed so drastically.
Yeah, we got in late. We got in not necessarily the best time. It's funny. When we signed our first record contract we got signed to a label called Victory Records in 2003. And that was at the time we were like, this is amazing. We're on a record label. Yep. And that was right when the whole industry had shifted because this is post Napster and file sharing and everything. So music was already being taken advantage of. There wasn't the streaming service. There was no Spotify. There was nothing in that. Where you can monetize. So people were downloading stuff, but there's no way to track who's got what and where the money goes. Yeah, totally. And, well, I mean, not that they're doing a great job. You've got Spotify, was like $1 billion company saying that they're losing money but not paying anyone. You're like, oh, great. So if someone streams, we actually, for example, we just crossed, one of our songs has been streamed over 10 million times. So we're like, that's amazing. But if we want to monetize that, it's the saddest thing ever. It's like, okay, so that 10 million, if there had been 10 million songs bought, there was 10 million singles, so like, now we're talking about some cash. But with that, I don't know. Maybe we might have got, over the course of 10 million streams, I don't know, what do we get? Maybe each of us gets a couple $100. It's like, here you go, guys, go have a nice dinner on us. Thanks for the 10 million streams. Thanks for all those hours of content you provided for us for free. It's crazy, man. Whatever. But at the same time, I guess the whole thing has shifted. So you just, if you're trying to do whatever you can just to get in people's faces, and then hopefully you just make money on the road. Yeah. And we were lucky enough to be an old enough band where our record contracts didn't involve anyone taking anything on our merch end or on our touring end. Cause a lot of the bands coming up now have to sign these 360 deals where it's like, okay, well, we're taking your publishing, we're taking a chunk of your tour, we're taking a chunk of your merch, we're taking a chunk of everything. And at that point, you're like, I don't know. I feel like I bought a crappy franchise. My profit margin is already razor thin, and now you're I'm losing another 10% on everything.
Well, and a lot of young musicians and entertainers don't understand. It sounds so good when someone goes, "Look, we're going to pay up front for all the recording, for all the merch, for all of that." But then if you look in the contract, it's like we need to make all our money back plus so much before you get anything.
Yeah, be like, get out there on the road and try to find something to eat.
Yeah.
Like, I hope you have fun sleeping on people's floors while you're trying to figure this all out.
That's what I laugh with people all the time. Like, we'll be backstage after a show or like at a comedy club and just sitting there and like everybody's just chilling and it's like the most tame environment ever. And you go, I wonder what they think is happening right now. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's my favorite.
Like, I still do that, man. Like I go to concerts and I'm like, man, they're probably just raging backstage. It's
like, meanwhile, it's like some guy on a bus, like wearing sweatpants, watching like
trimming his toenails.
Yeah, straight up, watching Seinfeld reruns. You're like, oh, how's it going up there? Like, you guys raging? Be like, I'm going to bed, man.
Yeah. How is what would you say is like the biggest change with touring from when you guys first got together to now?
It's more comfortable. I mean, we definitely don't tour like with full. We try to, because half of us have kids now. A singer and myself, we will have children. So
yeah.
It's definitely not. We've never been an all-out party band. Like, our singer doesn't drink. I've seen him drink in the time that I've known him. I might have seen him drinking maybe 5 or 6 times.
Wow!
So he's not a drinker. The other 2 guys are very health conscious at this point. We were never a big party band, but we would go out and do stuff. But at this point, it's just like, hey man, this is our job. We're gonna have me and our bass player have a couple of beers before we play, and then after that, it's like take a shower and go to bed.
Yeah.
It's like, you want to go out to this after party? Be like, no.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Right. Well, and especially when you're going to play again the next night. Like, you can only do that so often before. You know what I mean?
I mean, there is the element of also, like, it's strange because a lot of times I don't have to, if we're on a bus, it's like, all right, well, we're going to get there. The bus is going to get to where we're going at noon, and we don't need you before 3:30.
Right.
So at that point, it's like, well, I guess I could stay up until whenever and wake up at 3. But that starts to get, that's kind of that weird depression based on.
Yeah, you start to feel like a vampire. You're like, why am I only awake at?
Especially if you're touring during the winter months where it's like,
it's only light for 2 hours that I'm awake.
This is like Alaska, but not as beautiful.
That's right, man. That's right.
But yeah, touring is it's more comfortable, but it's also just, it's getting to. I think for all of us, it's tougher and tougher to spend extended periods away.
Right.
Now that everyone's kind of got things going on at home, but it's still fun. And also, we're gotten to a point too where nobody wants us to be on the road like 10 months out of the year anymore. If we're coming through, if we're going to be, say we're playing in New York and we're playing to 2,000 people or whatever, it's like, if we try to go back there in 2 months, everyone just saw us. Like, nobody's going to fork out another bunch of cash. So it's nice that it's kind of like our touring has become more compact and it's economically kind of existing at the same place for us, but it's just a matter of being like, well, we'll just make our tours count more.
That's
so
great.
It's good. So we'll go out less. We end up kind of making, again, we're making livable wages, but nothing insane by any stretch, either more good or bad. But yeah, it's nice. Everyone gets to spend more time at home, and kind of a couple of our guys are roasting coffee in Orange County.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then Anthony and I are kind of out here doing our own things. So.
How's that been with you guys being on kind of 2 different coasts now? Right?
It's fine. At this point, like nobody, we're there.
The coast of Nashville.
The majestic Cumberland over there.
Yeah.
It's fine. Like, we get together, we'll get together and we'll write. We do a lot of writing and recording in California because half the guys live there. And then the trade-off is that we start and end tours in Nashville. So they'll fly out for touring stuff and we kind of fly out there for writing.
Oh, that's cool.
The label and management is in California as well. So kind of more on the business side, we're out there. And then as far as the touring, it all kind of is centered out here. So it's fine. We don't really get together. I mean, at this point, we're not like, hey, you guys want to come over? It's like, hey, we'll see you in a little bit when we get together to do that. And they'll fly in a few days early and do that. But it doesn't affect us anymore. I think if we were a younger band and it was really of crucial importance that we were getting together to write and we were getting together to do this and this. But at this point, I'm not saying that it does not drive itself by any means, but the wheels are in motion and we all kind of know how to participate. And with technology being what it is at this point, even just file transfer sharing for new music ideas to get everyone on the same page, conference calls and things like that. But there isn't a whole lot that we have to do as far as being together.
So with writing this new record, what does that process look like? Does everybody kind of pitch in to write, or do a couple of you guys come and say, I've got these song ideas? Or
well, Anthony is the principal songwriter, so he's the one who kind of comes up with a lot of the vocal melodies. So what he'll do is he'll send around a file that is kind of like an acoustic guitar with like a hummed melody idea over it. And then that's sort of like the infancy of a song. Yeah. And then everyone kind of like, he'll send it to everyone. I'll put down some ideas. I'll send it back. He'll work with Chris, our drummer, to kind of develop an idea for how it should be paced, the tempo, like the kind of the general rhythm, the feel of the song. And then, this is after having, like for this record, for example, we had a lot of extensive conversations and we were referencing different ideas of what we wanted to accomplish with this. So when the ideas started coming around, we would have discussions about like, well, what if we treated it this way? Or what about this? And this would be a lead that kind of is reminiscent of this other song that we referenced. So once we kind of we start building blueprints that way. And then, so we'll all kind of have, say we'll have about 4 songs kind of at least in our brains at least. And then we have a friend who runs a studio it's outside of Bakersfield. So Anthony and I will fly out and we'll go stay with him for a week and live in his studio pretty much. And kind of start demoing ideas and get together and spend a week. And I love that process so much more because it's, as opposed to when we had done records in the past where we're all kind of in New York or Long Island and we get together and we practice. So it's like we'll get to a practice space at noon and we're like, we're going to practice from 12 to 5. Yeah. And then it's sort of like forced creativity where it's like, we're here. We have 5 hours. Let's work. And it's like, okay, this is good. And we'll get it. But when we're up there, it's like, hey, we're here for a week and we're in the studio. The studio is actually part of this building. We can stay here. It's a little bit more organic. We kind of flow in. People are in there. You hear noise. You walk out. You're kind of playing a little bit. I'm going to go have lunch. I come back out. And then like that evening, if someone has an idea, it's like, hey, I've got this idea. We tracked like the basic idea. I'm going to go in and kind of punch my idea in. And then people can kind of come in and hear it. So that's a little bit, it makes it a little bit like that is my favorite process. Also, where this guy lives, is our friend Joe, who lives in, Tehachapi. So it's kind of out in the desert. Yeah. And it's just, where he lives it's like 20 minutes to a store. Like you can't go, there's nothing there. Yep. So it's really distraction free. Your phone works, but the internet's not good. So there's like a lot of, it's really just like, we're going here, we're going to tie into this. And do that. And I think that's been the most productive environment for us to come up with stuff. So again, like Ant comes up with like kind of a skeleton for the song. Yeah. And then we all get it. And then we all sort of pitch in, build it. And then once it's demoed and kind of built, then when we'll do that 2 or 3 times. So we're up there, we'll basically come up with an album's worth of material that'll be demoed. And then when we start working with a producer, we'll do pre-production with that. So he starts pitching in on his thoughts on the songs. Everything gets changed. And then we head into the studio to track them. And then there are a lot of game time decisions. So a lot of the tracking will change. Like if the song has been demoed, but we're listening to parts and, things develop differently. So when I'm sitting down to start tracking guitar parts, if a section had changed, we're like, do you want to try something else here? This one's kind of like feeling weird. And then we'll kind of work through different sections and as we go. But and then at the end, it kind of, my favorite feeling is finishing the record and not knowing whether it's good or not. You're like, I'm so in my head about this. I've been living in this so much that I can't distinguish what's good and what's bad.
Well, yeah, there tends to be that moment when you're working on any project where you're like, oh, I love this. Then you're like, I don't know if I even like this. Then you're like, I really love it now. And
when we left California after we'd finished the record and then we got the mixes back and my wife was just like, what do you think? I was like, I don't even know what I think. I was like, I think it's okay. I mean, we're all seem pretty happy with it when we left, but I don't even know. And then I just have to not listen to it for a month and then, hang on 1 second.
Bless you.
Excuse me. It's from that donut.
Yeah.
I'm going to die. We're all going to die.
The magic murder donut.
Be like, he ingested some sort of like a toxic substance from a healthy donut.
My favorite.
He knew what he was doing.
My favorite is someone give you a donut that you're like, this is suspicious, but I could go for a donut. I'll only have half.
Well, that's exactly what it was. I came back in and I was like, she's like, you gonna eat those? I was like, no. And then I put him down. I was just looking at him. And he's like, well, I do love donuts.
It looks sealed.
I was like, look at it. I was like, yeah, these are
we do those kind of moments all the time, though, as adults. Like, I bought a tube of travel toothpaste this week, and it's in the box, and I go to open it, and I notice that as I go to open it, I notice that the opposite of the end that you pole had been cut with like a box cutter. You know what I mean? Like not the end that opens, but like what would be the hinge of the cardboard box. And I was like, that's interesting. So then I spent like 20 minutes looking at like the little seal on it, going like, has this been screwed with? Did somebody take this off and glue it back on? And then I was like, no. Probably you were using a box cutter to open the big box and it cut it. But then like I squirted on the toothbrush and then I was like, is that the right texture?
They're like, is this tooth? Am I being punked? Is this sour cream? Yeah. That's where you get it's like Miracle Whip. You're like, oh, you got me.
Again, it goes back to watching too much true crime. You're like, oh. Because it's always, you watch those true crime shows and it's always like the guy that, the situation you would be like, and it was a normal day, like every other day.
Who has that kind of time, though? He's like resealing the guy's got like a box of toothpaste. He's like, they're never going to know. You know who has time? That guy across the street has that kind of time.
Yeah.
He's got that kind of time.
Hopefully he doesn't listen to this episode.
That's why I wasn't allowed to go into the other room. He's resealing. He's resealing.
That's where he keeps all of his toothpaste glue.
Don't come in here.
Right. If a lot of people start dying that have really healthy gums in your neighborhood, we're gonna know.
They all have one thing in common: no gingivitis.
Oh, that's awesome. I text a couple buddies. This is a funny thing, but I text a couple buddies who have been huge Bayside fans for years.
Oh, no kidding.
And I was like, I'm sitting down with Jack and give me a question. I have a buddy who asked this, and he wanted me to make sure that his name is Sean. Wanted me to make sure that you knew he is a huge fan.
Oh, thanks, Sean.
And he said, when did you know that you figured out your tone, or are you still trying to find like are you still like geek out? And I know you build pedals and stuff, but do you still like go, and tweak this here or there? Do you feel like you've settled in on this is the sound that you?
It's really bizarre. I thought about this the other day. Actually, I got together with a couple friends in town just to play music for fun. Yeah. Because I'm going to go tangent, but I'm going to bring it back.
Yeah.
Because I was talking to a couple friends who are kind of hired gun guys in town who they play for like country acts and they're
utility guys. They do.
Yeah, they all start the same way though. Like when we're talking about it, it's like everyone was a kid growing up who wanted to play music and they got into bands and they got in a room with their friends and made music and it was fun and it's why we all kind of do this. And they get hung up on I get the impression that touring as a hired gun isn't all it's cracked up to be. As far as like you're out there but you're not playing your own music. You're very much dictating like this is what you can wear. This is what you can do. This is what we're playing. You don't have any input on the music. Like, we're going to pay you reasonably well, but like, none of this belongs to you. So I got together with these guys and I was like, we're going to make music. And I was like, well, what are we going to play? Like, it doesn't matter, man.
You're just jamming, just like a jam session.
This is going to be fun.
Just for fun.
This is like what we got. This is the big origin story.
Pretend we're 12 in the garage.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be anything. And we wrote a song and we were kind of playing it. I was like, this is fun. And the other guy was like, what kind of music is this? I was like, who cares? It doesn't have to be anything. But anyway, but I digress.
They can't shut off that. But because, I mean, that's a survival thing probably in that industry of being a hired gun.
Well, they were also talking about I guess it's rock. Be like, yeah, it's rock. And they're like, man, I haven't been able to play anything over like 120 BPM ever. Like, and also, I'm not used to having my creative input asked for. Because even with the drummer, I was like, oh, this next section, like maybe like open up a little bit, or if you want to do something with like toms to kind of create like a textural thing with we kind of give it more of a rhythm effect. And they was like, man, let me think about this because I haven't like actually gotten to write anything in so long. I was like, oh, this is cool. But anyway, I was going to say, so I brought an amp and I was in there and I had brought a bunch of pedals and other stuff. And I'm kind of turning on any amp. But to answer the question, I do have a very specific sound and I don't know when it happened, but if you give me an amp, like almost any piece of gear that I get now, it just becomes, I kind of end up getting to the same place without thinking about it anymore. So it's weird if I have one amp on every record that I've recorded on, it all kind of like my parts sound, the tone sounds the same and I've used different gear on everything. It's a weird ability at this point to just be like, hey, what amp is that? Be like, cool, let me play with it.
Yeah. You just
somehow like 5 minutes later, it's just going to sound the way that my stuff always sounds.
Oh, that's cool.
And I don't know. I actually don't know when that happened. I would imagine it happened a while ago because my sound with Bayside has been very, very specific.
Right.
But even with like my clean, everything I'm playing on a clean channel always kind of sounds the same, no matter what gear I'm using.
That's cool that you don't have to that you're able to just kind of, get into that zone without having to like obsess about it, or it's off. It's a little off.
I mean, sometimes
I've seen guys do that. And it's like, you can't just be happy, bro. Just like
sometimes it is a little bit off, like where you're like, something's not right, but this is close, and I'm getting it in there. But for the most part, like any piece of gear, any pedal, like it's funny you mentioned pedals too, because I've been building them, but a lot of them are like the ones I'm building. I'm not designing the circuits. I'm basically downloading schematics that are kind of
Tube Screamer
for like for lack of a better term, like generic versions of things where it's like I haven't really taken anything above and beyond. It's more utility based where I'm like, it started and where I was like, I need a reverb pedal or like I need a delay pedal. I don't want to spend $150 on one. I was like, well, if I download the schematic, I can get all the parts for this for like like between 10 and $20. So it's like, and then you build it. And you're like, okay, I'll do that. So I did it and I was like, all right, this works. I'll just maybe see if anyone else wants them. So I was doing it, but they're not, again, they're fine, which is, I think I'm actually, when I move forward, I actually want to design a circuit. Yeah. And I think if I have a company, I'm going to call it Fine. Be like, how are your effects? Be like,
they're fine.
They're fine. They're totally adequate. The company's called Fine. This is called the Totally Adequate Delay. Right. Yeah. Be like, what is it? Be like, it's a delay pedal. Be like, what's it sound like? Be like, have you heard a delay pedal? Be like, yeah. Be like, just like that. Yeah. Be like, it's fine. Yeah. Be like, is it going to change your life? No. Is it good? Be like, sure, it's fine.
Well, see, it's funny. I've played recreationally. I've never been like super serious, but I remember growing up and it's like pedals. It's like every year or every other year, it's like, this is the overdrive pedal everyone's got to have. And this is the delay pedal and everyone's like, oh, it's the best sounding ever, man. Dude, it's like the best ever. And then whenever, the next NAMM show comes out, like it's a different pedal that everyone's got to have.
Yeah. Like, well, I don't want to be the peaked in high school pedal. I want to be the one that I want to be the pedal that people have in their closet and be like, my dad had this pedal for like 1,000 years and how is it? Be like, it's fine.
It's fine. That's great.
Was it ever really popular? Be like, no, it's always just been existing in the back. Be like, hey, I'm totally willing to work for you.
Yeah.
Be like, I look reasonable, very functional. I'm not going to break on you.
That's awesome, man. I'm going to pull up another question here. Okay. Do you have, this is a random one. Do you have a favorite food place that you stop when you go to certain cities?
Oh my God. That's all I have anymore. Yeah. Now that I'm not like partying anymore, it's like all I look for when I talk to my wife, she's like, where are you today? Be like, I'm in Philly. I'm going to eat this and then I'm going to eat this.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, cool. Yeah. You're like, where are you going to be tomorrow? I'll be like, and then we're going to this place in Jersey and I'm going to have this sandwich and then I'm going to have this specific thing.
You get disappointed. You're like, I don't have enough time for all these meals.
100%. My day in most of the cities, like, what are you going to do today? It's basically I'm walking to eat something specific. That's basically what tour has devolved to me.
Well, that's how you get your exercise in because you're like, well, if I want it, I got to walk to it.
That sandwich is 2 miles away. That's a 4-mile round trip to eat the sandwich. And for some reason, like, I'm also like, I won't take Lyft. And when people are like, we're going to take a Lyft to this bar that's like 20 minutes away. I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
But they're like, I was like, there is a very specific like dumpling house that I'm going to go eat at. And I'm like, cool, where is it? I'd be like, it's 2.5 miles away. Be like, cool, I'll get the Uber. Be like, no, I'm going to walk.
Yeah.
Be like, why? Be like, because I have like 4 hours to kill. Yeah. It's going to be like a nice walk there. I'm going to eat something. I'll have a nice walk back and I won't feel like garbage.
When we spend so much time sitting, in vehicles or on an airplane or something, it's like.
And don't get me wrong, I love sitting. I am so good at it.
Huge fan of sitting.
I mean,
only second to being prone.
Yeah. Oh my God. Laying down is about as good as it gets. That's got to be the best part of being dead is you're just forever lying down. You're like, what's the best part about eternity? Yeah. You're like, well, I'm going to be lying down mostly.
Well, that's why pirates always look sad in the movies because their skeletons are always propped up. If they were laying down, they wouldn't look as menacing.
It's like they died in Coach.
Yeah. I died on Delta again.
Like my neck hurts. Like, you're dead.
That's amazing.
For eternity.
Dead for eternity.
At least put me lying down. That would be a really good thing to do if you're in jail and you die on death row and you're like, you know what? And we're gonna bury you straight up and down.
Oh,
would that be like a psychological thing? Be like if you die, if you get killed, if you're killed through corporal punishment or capital punishment, maybe that should be part. Be like, you know what? And when you're dead, you're going to get lethal injection. And guess what? We're going to bury you standing up.
Oh, come on, guys.
Wouldn't that be kind of terrible though? In a weird way, I think mentally that might, because you're like, go ahead and kill me. I don't care. Be like, we're going to kill you, but also you're going to get buried.
Right.
upside down, straight up and down.
That's how family would like let people know that their relatives did something bad. It's like, he's buried standing up.
Like, no, what did he do? Be like,
it was a standing burial.
Be like, he lived across the street from Jack. He'd murdered like 12 kids.
Oh, man.
We're gonna find out.
Oh, dude,
we're gonna find out.
I watching these shows messed me up because have you ever? Okay, you hear the names of like BTK or like these different serial killers, and you hear the terrible things they've done. Have you ever looked at what they look like? Dude, all of them are like a dude you'd see sitting on the bus, would walk past by in a business suit. You wouldn't think anything of him. Yeah. A guy that would, bring you a donut. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing. Like we always get creeped out when people are super weird with us, but that's never the guy.
Guy's probably safe.
That guy is probably safe.
You imagine like running into Robert Smith, present day, like on the street, and you weren't a fan of The Cure. And
right.
You're like, watch out for that guy.
Yeah.
No, he's fine.
No, he's fine. Yeah. He's fine. It's the guys that want to blend in, man. Guys like you and I. No, I'm just
and the guy across the street. I had that funny conversation when I was talking about living in New York City because I drive for Lyft here part time and I have a lot of 5-minute. I love driving for Lyft for the simple fact that I love having like 5 to 10 minute conversations with strangers.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, see you never. But that was cool for for a minute. I got to just be part of your life and it's like being at a bar or something where people don't feel you have a lot more uninhibited conversation because you're
like, I'm never going to see this person again.
I don't know you. You don't me. Yeah. Let's talk about something weird. I'm like, great. So I love that element of that. And oh my God, did I just lose my track of thought? Well, it might have been something. No, it's gone now. Remember? I can't remember what I did.
This is one of those moments where neither of us can tell where we were headed, but people listening are going to be like, you were talking about? You were going to tell us where Jimmy Hoffa is.
We were talking about the serial killers. It'll come to me. Or maybe it won't.
Or
maybe the next thing we're talking about is going to be so good that they don't even remember it. That's fine. They'll be like, oh, thank God they got off of this and got onto this.
Right. Oh, well, I've got to ask you because this show is called About to Break.
Okay.
Because, we're always this close to feel like a big breakthrough and this close to like a big breakdown.
Yeah.
And you've had, your band has been very successful and had a huge fan base for years and years. Has there ever been a moment where you were like, I think I want to get out of this game?
Yeah. You know what? Well, we had a kind of one of the things a lot of people know our band for is in 2005, we had an accident where we lost our drummer. And our bass player, who's still our bass player, broke his back pretty badly. And I think we've had, but even prior to when our bass player and that drummer joined the band too, we had just lost our bass player and drummer who just kind of were like, this isn't for me, I'm leaving.
Wow.
So Anthony and I had that conversation a couple of times, be like, do we keep doing this?
Yeah.
So, I've been with, Anthony and I have been together in this since 2003. And I feel like we've had a couple of those moments together where we're sitting in a room and we're like, what do you think? And they're like, I'm in if you're in. Like, I feel like we got a good thing. You want to keep rolling with it and see where this takes us. So when we had a drummer, Jim, who was kind of the person who brought me into the band from Boston. Also, he's the drummer, and our bass player at the time, Andrew. They quit at the same time, which is right after we had done a tour with Fall Out Boy in 2004. And it was this big club tour. And they were just like, I'm not into it. But like, this is, we just came off of this tour with this band that's blowing up and I'm not enjoying myself. This isn't for me. So we had that first conversation then, be like, you want to keep doing this? Be like, I think this thing's got legs. Let's see how it goes. And then so they left and kind of made that decision. I was like, well, let's see who gets in the band. Let's see who we find. And then we found Nick and John at the time. I was like, these guys are great. Let's keep going. And then when John passed and Nick was kind of out for a little bit, and then we found Chris, it was like, this is great too. So kind of just put our heads down. Let's keep doing it. So we've had a lot of things where we've questioned whether or not we should do it. But I feel like it's nice to belong to be part creator in something that has affected people so positively.
Right.
And I wouldn't necessarily call it obligated, but I do feel like there is some sort of a sense of responsibility and something that I don't ever feel like we owe our fans anything, but I think that what we've created has been special to some people in a way that has been very meaningful. And, and I think what I like about our band as opposed to some bands that are much more successful necessarily, but that have much more of a disconnected fan base, where people you know, like I think that pop experiences that a lot where people are like, I really like this song. It's catchy. They're like, do you know anything about the artist? Do you know anything about the song other than it's just in your face all the time? You're like, not particularly. So I've always appreciated the fact that our band the success our band has had is directly tied to being incredibly relatable to our fans, or we have much more of an intimate experience with our fans.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I do feel like there is almost a level of responsibility to kind of keep it moving and to kind of keep providing content. And it's almost like this symbiotic relationship where it's like, we'll keep supporting you. We'll help paying your bills by coming to shows and buying your records and buying your t-shirts. If you kind of keep providing it, we kind of keep this community rolling. So
that's great, man.
That's been one of the most rewarding things. And it's a weird trade-off where it's like, you know, we could probably, there's a lot of things we might have been able to do that would have, I don't want to use the word selling out because everyone wants to sell out. I'm sure I'd like to make more money. You know what I mean? Like if there's a way we could do both of them. It's like, I'd love to be playing in an arena and still have this type of a fan base. But that having been said, I love the fact that the fans that we have are so supportive that are back everything we do 100%. We're like a trouble-free band. We don't have there's no scandal.
No drama.
We're like four normal guys who go to work. We don't have gimmicks. We don't do anything. We just make music that people are connecting with. So that makes it easier when we have when I've come to those moments with Anthony where we're like, what do you want to do? We're like, I don't know, man, this is fun. We're doing good stuff out here. People like it. And, you know, I feel like I would rather go down as being important to these, like, however many, like, tens or hundreds of thousands of people. I know we're not necessarily reaching millions and millions of people, but we have something really special with a huge group of, like,
it goes deep, man.
Yeah,
I mean, like, music's so powerful, and it's got to be wild. I mean, I think it's got to be wild to meet people on a regular basis who you're meeting for the first time, and yet you've had such an important part of their life.
Totally. Where they're like, hey, you have no idea what you've done to me. I'm like, yeah. And a good way.
You're like, wait a minute.
Before I get really excited about this, are you going to punch me? No, but like that is, for me, has been that's really sad. So at the end of the day, if it all goes away or if anything happens and it all stops, I feel like that I don't ever think that what I've done doesn't count and that I've wasted my time, you know? So at this point, and people ask me, how long are you going to do this? As long as I am allowed to. And as long as, you know, and as long as everybody still remains kind of dedicated to it, I'm going to keep doing it. So
that's rad.
Yeah,
man.
we'll see.
That's the dream, right? Yeah. That's the thing, man.
We'll see. Although this is what we have, my wife and I have another kid on the way right now.
Congratulations.
And we found out it's going to be a boy today, which is both awe-inspiring and horrifying. I was to call myself a handful growing up, I think would be something my mother might agree. I heard a lot of weird stories about. She's like, you used to like to pull every book off the bookshelf, and then you would take plates out of the cupboard and just break them into the trash. And there's a lot of like weirdo discovery / destruction. So I'm just anticipating, and I'm I'll be an older dad anyway. I'm 43 now, and I didn't have my daughter until I was 40. So it's like one of those things where I'm going to be like ancient dad. But I'm hoping that another one doesn't completely just compound the aging. And I'm just
dude.
It'll be like when he opens when he's like don't look at the Grail, and like in Raiders of the Lost Ark, he opens the Ark and it's just like
he chose unwisely.
I'm going to drink from the carpenter's cup. I don't want to go.
Right.
Don't give me the Ornette Grill.
Right.
But
no, it'll be great, man.
Yeah.
It's exciting. I feel like kids keep you young.
I think so. I had a lot, even today I was just splashing around in a pool playing shark games with my daughter. And I was like, this is fun. You kind of disconnect from play a little bit as you get to be an adult, and to have that, to kind of rekindle that sense of like, just wonder with the world and and just being like, my daughter's a crazy person. I feel like toddlers are crazy people. Like, it's not like my daughter's not unique in the sense she's unique to me, but she's not unique in the sense that toddlers are. It's not like my girl's really creative and weird. Be like, she's 3. They're all maniacs. Yeah. They're like nuts.
Well, and it's wild because they just got here. Like they just showed up. Like, you know what I mean?
Do you ever see this?
Like we're all like, that's not how you're supposed to act. And they're like, I just got here. I don't know the rules.
What do you mean I'm not supposed to scream in the grocery store?
Right.
Like, I mean, I'm not going to tell you can't. I mean, physically, sure, you're capable. Right. Like people are going to think I'm doing something. People are going to look at me. I'm wearing a Napalm Death shirt. If you're a toddler in my care and you're screaming, I'm pretty sure CPS is on the way.
They're like, are you safe, little girl? Do you know this man?
One of my favorites is I had, when she was really young, I got her a Slayer onesie. And
oh, that's fantastic.
So we used to go out and I'd wear some sort of like a Cannibal Corpse shirt or something, and she'd be wearing a Slayer shirt. And being in Tennessee too, I got a lot of disapproving side eye. I'm going to tell you. I'm like, son, I don't believe you're doing that child any service.
Yeah.
You're like, oh man, I'm sorry. I'd be like, she really likes death metal. What can I say?
Right. Yeah.
Be like, I know Slayer's a little off color, but like, listen, she's more into like obituary these days. Slayer's just more of like the shirt fits, but she's not really, other than Raining Blood and like Angel of Death, she's kind of like a Fairweather fan. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Dude, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, of course. I feel bad. I feel like I've just kind of been,
you don't even feel bad.
This experience are more stream of consciousness. I have a hard time zeroing.
No, that's all this is. There is literally no, there is no format other than let's talk about life, and we did all the things we need to do here. Although I want to record the special ending so that we can play it when.
When he actually goes and kills somebody.
Yeah,
or somebody's or everybody.
Yeah. That's jeez, man.
I'll put it in. I'm good, and this is where you cut. But
Taylor, edit this part right here.
So if you wanted to leave this part in, I'll give you the basics. So I have a neighbor that I live. I live in a new development.
I'm not editing this at all.
Yeah, this is
telling a story. Okay.
He seems very nice, but there's something kind of not really connecting with him. He's introduced himself to me every time he's met me over the course of the last 6 months. He's introduced himself. He asks what my daughter's name is, what my dog's name is, what my wife's name is, and then he introduces himself. So I have been introduced to my neighbor, I would say, this is a conservative estimate, 20 to 25 times. Like, a lot.
Do you feel like Bill Murray in Groundhog Day? Like,
sort of. I was like, no, but it was kind of like, oh, he doesn't remember me. This is interesting. And it's gotten to the point now where I'm like, yeah, he's like, hey, what's up? I'm your neighbor. I live there. I'm like, I know. He's like, hey, what's your name? I'm like, still Jack. Every time you meet me, it's still going to be the same name. Like, I live right there. We've talked about this. He's like, and your daughter's name is? I'm like, yep, you've met her a bunch. It's still the same. She's 3. She knows your name. Like, and then, he invited me. He called me, or he didn't call. He knocked on my door to ask me to come over to his house to help him with something. And my wife and I are kind of already like, this guy's a little weird. Something's not right with him. Yeah. And everything inside.
How close is he? Is he
right across? Like
you open your front door and you see his?
I'm not like an athlete, but I could throw a baseball and hit his house from, like, if I opened my front door and threw a baseball, I could hit his house.
Okay.
And I'm not an athlete. It's not like I'm throwing the connecting. I'm not like in left field, like throwing the guy out at home plate. I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah.
So I went in his house. Everything was weird. His house is strange. Its setup's weird. He's like, it's weirdly furniture. The way he moved into his house is weird. Like, I don't want to get too specific because he might be listening, but like, he moved from like South Florida and he was like, he moved himself.
If he is listening, he knows who he is at this point.
Yeah, but I'm not mentioning his name, so don't kill me. If you're, you know who you are, and if you're hearing this, don't kill me. I'm like a nice guy, and I have a kid. He moved in weird, and then everything about the whole, he had me help him do something, and I was like taking some, he called me over to do something that was like, in no way ever should end, like, it wasn't like he could have needed help with this. And he's not like a little person. He's a big guy. So it's like, he wanted my help. It would be like if I asked you to come over to help me open this envelope. Do you know what I mean? Be like, hey, listen, I just got this piece of mail. Could you help me come over open this envelope? Yeah. Be like, why? Is it like a complicated envelope?
Like, no, I just don't want to have my fingerprints on it.
So,
he needed your prints on that box cutter.
Oh my God! No. I brought my own knife.
Okay.
I had to open a box for him, so I did. Maybe thought something in the box was going to blow up. I don't know what was going on. So I opened it. Had a weird encounter with his with other members of his family, and then when I left, he gave me donuts. He gave me a box of donuts
that you ate.
Well, I ate one of them, and then I wasn't. As I was thinking about it, I was like, "This is weirder and weirder." And then my other neighbor was like, "I had this weird experience at our neighbor's house. Let me tell you about my experience." And I was like, oh "My God, that's weird." And then I was like, told him mine. He was like, "That's weird." I was like, "Wait a minute, did you eat the cake?" And he was like, "No." He got a cake, and then I got donuts. So he was like, "Did you eat the donuts?" I was like, "I had half a donut." I was like, am I going to die? So now I'm kind of concerned that we live in I'm like in a burbs situation. Like, where me and my neighbor are concerned that like the Klopaks across the street are burying people in the backyard.
If we hope this never is true.
Oh yeah,
but
sure.
if for some reason it did go south, and right now you're listening to this as part of a jury in the courtroom, and this is evidence. Please go give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts for the About to Break podcast.
For About to Break the Case, wide open. Yeah.
Oh! And if you'd like to help the victims, you can give to our Patreon.
Oh my God. It's so weird. I don't want to give away any, the thing is like the devil is in the details, and I wish that I want to elaborate more because it feels so much weirder when you know all of this stuff. I just don't want to go in too deep because truth is he's probably just a really weird guy, but man, it's getting weirder and weirder. It's to the point now where my wife and I are like, I don't think I want our daughter hanging out with the guy, like around him. Like I think we keep her away. Like I don't think he's sinister. I don't think that, but no one thought John Wayne Gacy was sinister.
Oh yeah, he was just a nice clown. Oh man.
Yeah, so if you see me on the news, if they're like, when they interview people and they're like, you get the typical, like, he was a nice guy. I would have never imagined they're going to come to me and be like, you know what? I had this guy pegged from back then. Like, as soon as he moved in, I was like, there was something really not right with that guy. Something is definitely, there's a screw loose up there, and we're all a little worried. We were like warning our kid about him from the get-go.
Yeah. And then you're like, I should have told somebody.
I did. I'm telling you right now.
Right now, yes. This is it. Oh, well, dude, thank you for doing this, man.
My pleasure.
Friends, go listen to the new Bayside album. And you should, if you have not heard it yet, go check out Jack's solo stuff. It is so good, man.
Thanks,
I love it.
I'm excited. Yeah, you know what? The funny, that was, I don't want to keep you, I don't want to drag it on.
No.
But, Ethan and I had planned on doing like a short tour where we were like, hey, you know, we're great friends. We should do a tour together. And I was like, that'd be fun.
That would be awesome.
Well, we did.
Did you? Okay.
Well, it was like a short run, but I was like, I'm not going to do a tour. I don't have any music to promote. I don't have anything to promote. It was like, well, let's make something. So I just went, I went away and I wrote 5 songs, and then Ethan helped me record them. And then he was like, now you have a record. Let's go on tour. So we ended up
that's amazing.
So we just ended up booking like a week worth of shows that went up as far as Chicago and back. And it was such a blast. And I know I'll end up doing it again with Ethan. But, yeah, it was fun. I just got to write some music it doesn't have to be anything. It could be whatever I want. Yeah. So the EP that I put out doesn't make sense as far as, it's not one style of music. It's just like a bunch of songs.
That's the best.
So man. I like that. And there's no pressure to have it be anything else. And they were like, are you going to give this to your label? I was like, I don't want to, because then it's something.
And then you have to do that thing. Yeah.
And then it's like, well, you have to promote this. You have to get out there and do like a full tour, and like, where's your merch and where's your web store and what's this? Yeah. I was like, oh man, I just wanted to write some songs and go out and like play some shows with my friends. So yeah, but yeah, if you look up my name on Spotify, it's there. I got some music up there that my friend, Ethan and I recorded together, and probably do more of that in the future because playing music is fun. Yeah,
buddy. Oh gosh, it's so good. I've been forever wanting to learn the banjo.
Oh yeah.
And the other day I was like, you know what? I'm an adult. I'm going to buy a banjo.
Why not? The world is your oyster. Get that banjo.
Yeah. When Ethan gets back from Europe, I'm going to call him or maybe, I know nothing about banjos. I'm like, I don't even know. I spent my whole life studying guitars. I don't know anything about banjos. I don't even know where to start. So,
you know what? Ethan probably can play a banjo. Yeah, he's probably like, oh, I'm really good at banjo, by the way. Did you not know that? He's like, well, I don't own one, but watch me shred this banjo. It's like when I was on tour with Steve Martin on my banjo only tour. Like, wait, what? You gotta be kidding me.
Steve and Ethan, the banjo tour.
I'm sure Ethan would be an amazing banjo player.
Yeah.
It would make me both surprised and happy, and then also resentful. I'd be like, God, are you good at everything?
Yeah. Well, I just saw Ethan in LA with Need to Breathe. And I'm like, oh, what else? Oh, he's playing lap steel. Oh, he's playing everything. Like, what does this guy not play?
I don't know. It must be nice though, because when he goes to make a record, he's like, I'm going to make a record. Be like, cool. Who's playing drums? Be like, me.
Yeah.
Like, who's playing bass?
I know,
be
right?
Like, me also. Be like, who's playing keys? Me. Who's playing guitar? Me. Who's singing? Me.
That's like, wild. The one man band.
Yeah, and it's not even like it's so messed up because this is just a kiss in his butt session right now. But it's so funny because like there wasn't one instrument where I'm like, well, you're clearly like way better at this than the other one.
Right?
Like, no, I'm pretty across the board.
He's one of those guys where you have to go, okay, what did you start with? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he's professionally played drums, guitar, bass, everything. You're just like, oh man, you're
See, I forget banjo. I'm going to have to go with like some obscure instrument and just like I'll be the best at the melodica or something.
Be like, check out my hammered dulcimer. You're like, it's a little cumbersome, but boy, is the payoff worth it.
Right? I'm playing one song on tour with Sia. I've dedicated my life to this.
I love it.
All right, buddy. I'm going to turn this off. We can keep talking. Friends, go check it all out.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you.